Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole from Nicole's Scrapbooks, and I just wanted to do a quick video for you today about one of my favorite techniques using the Creative Memories new 12-inch trimmer, and that is to cut 4 mats out of one piece of 12 by 12 cardstock. The easiest one is going to be the 5 by 7 mats. So we're going to cut 4 5 by 7 mats, and then I'm going to show you how to do a couple other sizes. So what you want to do to cut these mats is start with the smaller number. So we're doing a 5 by 7. So you want to put your paper on the 5. And then you're going to cut here to the 7. So if you see on the trimmer, there is a ruler and it has, the numbers in inches. But the thing that's tricky is that the blade housing kind of covers up the ruler. You can't really see the numbers as well because the blade housing is covering it up. Now you can turn and you can line up this white line with the number underneath, but the secret is that the blade housing is exactly 2 inches wide. So the space from the white line to the edge is 1 inch. So if you're okay to just add 1 inch when you cut, that makes it a lot quicker and easier to do this measurement. So I'm going to put my paper on the short side, 5, and I'm going to cut so that the white line is on the 7. I'm cutting a 7-inch line, and so I have to add that inch. 5 by, I'm at 7 now, but that means that my cut only went to 6 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and keep scooting down to 8. So that gave me a 5 by 7. Then you turn your paper 90 degrees, and again, you line up on the short side, 5, and you go to so that the cutting line is on 7, which means the housing is on 8. So there's your 5 by 7 mat. Turn it again 90 degrees, 5 by 7, and then turn it one last time. And you can actually leave your blade down here at this end, especially for this last one, and you're just going to cut that last 7 inches, and you've got your 4 5 by 7 mats from one 12 by 12 piece of cardstock, and this is your only waste. And it's not waste because there's lots of things that you can use this little 2-inch square for, on your layout. So not necessarily waste, but you really maximize the use of your paper by being able to cut 4 out of a 12-inch piece of paper. So I have a 4 by 6 photo, and you can see if I put this on here, this gives a nice mat with a 1/2 inch frame around my 4 by 6 photo. But sometimes maybe you don't want this much of a frame. And so I'm going to show you how now to cut a smaller size. And the secret to cutting the smaller size is, again, a little bit of math. So maybe I don't want a 5 by 7. I want a 4.5 by 6.5 frame. So I don't want to start with a 12 by 12 piece of paper because that's not going to work the same way. So if you take the measurements of the mat that you want, so I'm doing 4.5 plus 6.5, and that gives me 11. So add those two measurements together, and that's going to be 11-inch square. So I'm going to take my 12-inch square, and I'm just going to cut 1 inch off the side. Now you could do this with cutting something off with the border maker. Not all our border maker cartridges have leave the same amount of background though. So a lot of times I'll just cut this strip off myself. So now I'm going to do a 4.5 by 6.5 mat. So again, I'm starting at the short end at 4.5. I'm cutting so that the white line will be on 6.5. So 6.5, but my housing goes to 7.5. And again, turn 90 degrees, put my paper at the 4.5, cut to 6.5 with my housing at 1 inch bigger. 4.5. This one I'm going to start down here because I already got my blade down here. I'm going to start at this 7.5 and just go back. And last one, 4.5. And just off the edge. And here are my 4.5 by 6.5 inch mats. And you can see that they give a little bit less of a border around my picture. So a lot of this is personal preference. A lot of it is what can you fit on a page. You know, 5 by 7, 4.5 by 6.5. And then I'm going to show you how to cut a 4.25 by 6.25. And again, we'll just do a little bit of math. You guys can probably do this one in your head at this point. 425 plus 625, and that's going to give me 10.5. So I'm going to do the exact same thing, except this time I'm going to cut 1.5 inches off my paper before I start. So 1.5 inches. 1.5 inches. And then we're going to do the exact same thing we did, but with 4.25. So here I am at 4.25 right here. I'm going to cut down here so that the line is at 6.25. I know the housing has to be at 7.25. I'm going to turn my paper 90 degrees, 4.25, 6.25, 4.25, 6.25. I know this is the part that's confusing because we're cutting to 6.25, but my housing is going to 7.25. 4.25 and off the edge. And so here are my 4 photo mats that are 4.25. And a lot of people really like this one that just gives a very thin mat around your photo. So it's your choice what kind of photo mat that you want. And you can keep going. You could go smaller. You could cut your paper into 4 by 6 pieces. You wouldn't really want to, though, with 4 by 6 because you can cut 6 4 by 6 mats easily just from a 12 by 12 piece of paper. So there's the 1/2 inch mat. That's the 5 by 7. This one is the 4.5 by 6.5, which gives a 1/4 inch. And then my favorite, which is the 4.25 by 6.25. So there you go. That's how you can cut 4 photo mats from one sheet of 12 by 12 paper with very little waste. I hope that my explanation made sense and I didn't confuse you too much with the additional inch that you add just to know where your measurements stop and start. So if you got any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comments. And if there's any technique that you are curious about or you would like me to figure out how to demonstrate for you, please let me know and I will be glad to do that. Thank you so much and happy scrapbooking.